For everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions about gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Call them anytime at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am the dad, Stan DeFreitas, Mr. GT, Mr. Greenthumb, as I have been for most of my adult career. And, of course, my son, James DeFreitas, who I'm happy to say has become a great radio person in his own right.
A radio man, summer stock.
Summer stock. Well, that's
a little bit of summer stock.
That's what got you there
that's
on
right.
this.
But yeah, I am James DeFreitas, and as always, I appreciate the two introductions. One is not enough for me and my ego. I need two. So yeah, that's always a good thing. One of the things I want to encourage people to do, if you have gardening questions, you can always go to askmrgreenthumb.com. That's ASKMR greenthumb.com. And once you're there and perusing the site, and how could you not be interested to peruse it more, you'll see that there is a carefully located Ask button right there at the top left corner. You can click on that, and you literally can actually submit a photograph right from your phone. So you can do it right from your phone. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about making sure that the knowledge is power routine is that you're living by it. So one of the things that's cool is if you have a bug ID that you want, if you have a bug that you're not sure what it is, could be a stink bug, could be just a regular old bug or something, and you want to know what it is, well, Stan's pretty darn good at figuring out what that bug might be. And let's say you have something right or wrong going on in your landscape. Maybe you've got a tree. Maybe you got a live oak tree. It's got little BB holes, running sap, bark fluffing off of it, or sloughing off of it, I should say. You might want to get a digital consult. Well, what you can do then is you can send a couple of photos, and that's your digital consult. And then we can tell you what we think you ought to do based on seeing what you're dealing with in your landscape. And then, of course, if you want to, the ultimate of ultimate, you can have Stan and I will come out. We do personal consultations. There is a charge to do that. But if we see something that's wrong with your landscape, then one of the things that we can do is we'll take the consultation fee and we'll apply it to the actual work that we're going to do to restore your tree's health. And the way they get a hold of you is
727-423-4794. We're going to give you my radio voice, 727-423-4794.
And that's also the number that they can text you
they
to,
can text
correct?
me, send me a picture of your tree.
If you don't even want to use the website, you can just send him a picture directly, and it's just that easy. Now, Stan loves the telephone. You may not love the telephone, and therefore it might be a nice icebreaker to send a text message first so that you know that you can start that process. But either way, Stan loves talking to people, and he's just as easy as he is on the radio, he is in real life. He's very easygoing, very laid back. We educate without making people feel dumb. Okay, so there is no dumb questions here at Ask Mr. Greenthumb.
Well, I was a former Extension County Extension horticulturist. I was called an urban horticulturist, and I was a supervisor. And one of the things that I figured over my 8 years that I answered about 100,000 people's questions.
That's a lot.
In different ways, mostly on the phone, but we had a lot of walk-ins as well. And of course, we gave a lot of programs, at least back then. I don't know if they're doing that as much now, but we used to send out a monthly publication called Timely Topics. And I worked with Gil Whitten. And as much as Gil could be a fiery boss, I always thought I learned a lot. And I appreciate the time that I spent with Gil. And, of course, I worked with Mark Govan, too, on radio. I'm thankful for the time that I've had with everybody. Now, I will say just in life, like your mom and your dad, does it every minute mean it's always great? Or are there going to be problems and maybe arguments or maybe problems? Challenges is a good word for it. So I don't want to butter that too hard that we didn't always sometimes have problems. I can tell you with Mark and I, we had a program director come in one time and said, "You guys are too nice a guys. There's not any controversy," because often in radio you like that point counterpoint. And so we had someone, he said, I want a little bit of in between. So
So
we
you
did.
literally had somebody come in and say, "Your audience wants Jerry Springer. What are you doing?"
Yeah, I said, well, I've never been accused of being such a nice guy that was a problem before. But I thought that was funny as my program director came in and told us that we
Which
were.
I totally disagree with that, because I think that we have enough controversy taking place in politics that the one place you really don't need it is in a radio/real estate show. I think
Yep.
you need to be talking about positive things with your time, which gardening certainly is, and then of course passive investments. People that are interested in investing. There's always, and again, investing in real estate, there are good times. There are some times that are better than others, but it always should be something that should be on the tip of your mind to do. If you are an investor, by the way, I have helped investors in the past purchase commercial real estate. So if you're interested in doing that, you certainly can give me a call at 727-254-7127. And of course, I am the owner and founder of Dream It Real Estate.
What's that number again?
And that's 727-254-7127. And of course, if you want more information about what I do, of course, you can go to dreamitrealestate.co. That's .co, not .com. So that's dreamitrealestate.co. I know the com thing has really become the thing that most people use, but unfortunately, somebody else already had the wonderful brainiac idea of having the .com of the same name. So I got the .co version of it. So now you know the rest of the story, as somebody once said.
Good day.
Good day.
Paul Yeah, I used to love listening to his show. And first you knew you were into a Buick commercial and you didn't even know you were there.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And one of the things I did learn in radio about 45 years ago, it was always to give out your number twice, because people probably don't get it jogged down the first time. So give that number again. And your number again if they want to get a hold of you?
Again, if I'm not busy cleaning my garbage cans and putting padlocks on it, then you can never be too safe. Then you can reach me at 727-254-7127. And for the record, that is actually the third time I've given out that number. And I can see that my number is already being lit up like a Christmas tree. So I'll have to get back to those people later in the day.
Well, I turn my phone off too, because if you don't, people will call you right in the middle of doing a broadcast.
Of course. And then I've even had people call me when I was in the middle of a talk. So that's always fun too. And I remember one time Stan was giving a talk, and the person kept robocalling back, and then he thought, well, I'll just go ahead and answer it. So he answers it and goes, well, I'm Stan DeFreitas, and I'm doing a talk right here today at the blah, blah, blah Garden Center. And just so you know, you're part of my talk at this point. What was so urgent,
I thought that was great. Yeah, and the people were like, no, I don't want to actually be part of your talk today. And I thought, well, let me include you.
And I'll give you a quick little tidbit story that's kind of interesting too, is that my wife and I went to go see, and we were surrounded by a lot of elderly people, but, again, we tend to like things that are kind of maybe not in our generation. But she really likes Mandy Patinkin, and people that, may not know, he goes around the country doing his little one-act thing that he does, which is a lot of singing and dancing and that sort of thing. And so we went there, and there was a guy sitting in the third row, and the phone rings 15 minutes into his act. And he ignored it the first time. And then 10 minutes later go by and the phone rings again. And he goes and he stops what he's doing, and he goes down, gets off the stage, grabs the guy's phone and says, sir, you may get this phone after I'm all done, because I'm tired of having it interrupt what I'm trying to do for the rest of the lovely people who've paid good money to be at this show. And none of us are all that interested in how important you think you are.
Yeah, that's grand.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Another tidbit story too. I attended several years ago now, but I attended a Harry Connick Jr. Concert, and he was great as well. And that was he was actually at the Charleston Theater at the time, amphitheater
up in South Carolina.
And he was great. Apparently, he's a very punctual type of person. Okay, so he arrived at the designated concert time, but it meant that he didn't get to have dinner. So, because he's like, I flew in, got here at 6, the show goes on at 7:30, and I didn't have time to eat. And he says, does anybody have any sandwiches or snacks or anything in the audience? I hate to admit it, but I didn't have time to eat, and I'm feeling a little bit sluggish. And sure enough, somebody had a sandwich in their purse. He invites the lady up on the stage and he says, well, I got to give you something for your sandwich. I can't just take your sandwich. So he sang a nice little serenade for her for about 5 minutes and then ate the sandwich while his band, the Harry Connick Jr. Band, did their little segment. And he goes, well, I'll just do like a piano piece, while I'm eating. So he's doing a little piano piece and you could see him eating and you could hear the crunchity crunch noise into the microphone. And but it was, again, we forget that these are people, even though they're extremely talented people, we forget that they're just like us and that they have to eat and do all the stuff that we do.
Well, that's interesting. That's a nice story. And he seems like a super guy from what I've seen him on his talk show that he had for a while. In fact, he's another example of a guy I think
probably too nice.
Too nice a guy.
Yeah.
If there's such a thing as most of America wants to listen to Jerry Springer and the other guy is
Wilkos.
Wilkos.
Yeah. I personally don't, because that's all negative.
Where these people are knocking each other, and you can see it's almost like a staged fight where it's like, you ready, let's go at it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like an unqualified MMA match, where they both have signed. And by the way, that's all show, and it's all set up, and they sign these releases that they can't sue the show or the person they're going to have a fist fight with. So to me, it's kind of sad commentary on what the general public might be interested in watching. It's not positive, and it's the antithesis of what we try to provide here on the show, which is always trying to give people kind of an educational background, give people a positive way to project their future. And I think that's just a better way to go through this life, and that's why I think you have such a love for gardening.
I do love gardening, and I will say, even when the world seems upside down and crazy, I sometimes go out and look at a tree, and I look at a rose, and I will go harvest my lettuce. I've got some tomatoes coming on right now, some broccoli. I know George Bush Sr. used to go,
don't like broccoli,
don't want it,
points a lot. Points a lot.
But I have grown just about every veggie at one point or another, and I enjoy it, and I see the miracle of life. I've got some little marigolds growing out around my mailbox thing.
Well, they are miracles of marigolds.
They're miracles of miracles. And so I enjoy that, and I try to preach that to folks. If you can see some beauty in the world, you don't need a bunch of drugs.
You don't.
You don't need a bunch of booze.
Life is its own drug.
Try to find something that is natural that you can get into and enjoy. It may be music. It may be reading. Enjoy the world and life as much as you can. And stay with us as the Plant Talk continues.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online, aflre.com.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside, in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Give him a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we are here to help you with not only your plant questions. I just mentioned some veggies that I'm growing that I enjoy. My avocados, my bananas, my carambola. I enjoy some of those things. They're edible. And I was looking at my lettuce the other day. In Publix, it was $3.99 for the same stalk of lettuce that I went out to harvest. And I kept thinking,
And you've got a little bit of chewers on yours too, and which is, again, you think of growing it in an earth box that you're somewhat in an insular environment. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
well, you can, even though you have an earth box or a raised garden box, which you built me also, which I like, and I give the earth box a free plug.
What's a good product?
I would like to see some sponsorship there, but I understand they're down to their last dollar.
Even if they are, it's still a great product, and we still
It is.
think highly of them.
And the box you built for me even better because it puts me up about 5 feet high.
Yeah, I need to retrofit that box too, because I mean, if people want to go to your YouTube channel at Ask Mr. Greenthumb, you just go to YouTube, type in Ask Mr. Greenthumb, it'll come up, and you can type in, elevated gardening box as the search term once you have the page up, the YouTube page up. And again, like, subscribe, all of that stuff that you always hear everybody saying, that does help. So
Sure.
please do that. But you can look at that video and you can see how I built it. And it was a fun video. I remember, putting it on high speed so that you didn't have to watch every second of me drilling and screwing everything in, because that gets a bit monotonous. And then I even took my dog, Cappy, and put her in for the weight test, and of course it passed. And so it was fun.
I don't know if it would pass today. No.
I don't know about that either. But again, one of the things that's interesting there is, now the box that I built you was probably a little deeper than it really needed to be, especially when you compare it to what the earth box does. That's a tried and true system. And the box that, and I went by your dimensions. My suggestion there might be to shorten up that distance by a couple of inches. I know you need some depth, but I think what we did is we went too wide or too deep, but we made the thing so heavy that the aluminum support structure struts will bend, and so we don't really want that, because I wasn't thinking about how heavy soil is when you put it in the box and then put
especially
water
with the
on it.
water.
Yeah,
the
the
water
water
is your biggest factor. I would say lighten the soil up too. When people ask, how come the boxes work better? And I would say you can't fill it up with your backyard dirt. That's you're going to have a problem, because then you do have the nematodes, the fungi, the bacteria, the weed seeds, all of those things. If you use backyard dirt, and I've had a few people do that, they said, well, how come my earth box thing isn't working right? Well, you didn't use the right soil. You should use a soil that is soilless, basically. Peat moss, vermiculite, perlite, wood chips if you want, something to lighten it up. You can't have that. The backyard dirt has a lot of natural, almost every sample of soil I've ever sent off in Florida has nematodes, and those are microscopic eelworms. When you pull a tomato plant out and it has a bunch of knots on the roots, you've got root knot nematode.
And what does that do to the fruit?
Well, it may not. What it'll do is it parasitizes the plant, so the plant doesn't have enough oomph. And I would make the comparison: what does congestive heart failure do to you? Well, it's going to start to shut down. I'm not a doctor, but having had that,
You don't need to be a doctor to know it if you've had it.
Yeah, I always think it's funny. People
And you
go,
may know it better than your doctor does because you have had it.
You've lived through it.
Right.
And I don't have it now, but thank God for Tampa General Hospital, because, they helped save me.
A special shout out to Dr. Gundar Ketlaps.
He was the surgeon who actually did the work, did a super job. And, of course, also Dr. Kumar, who
It was March the 24th that was your 2-year anniversary on receiving said heart transplant. So I think that deserves a special shout out in and of itself.
I'm alive and well, and I've got about 98, 99% on my oxygen level right now.
Braggart.
Which is great. Yeah, it's better than most people's. And if everything was perfect, I'd probably be out running and doing jogs and stuff like that. I have some other problems that prevent me from doing what I would be doing if I didn't. My heart wise, I'm fine.
Right. 10 out of 10. I agree with that. In terms of your heart function, 10 out of 10. Your walking function, 1 out of 10. But that's that's not something I really want to get into. But
No.
I do want to mention that. Folks, if you're out there and you have problems and you're thinking about back surgery, be very careful about it. Be very, very careful. Backs are tricky, and don't underestimate the ability of a surgeon to want to cut, because surgeons cut, and that's what they do for a living. So just be aware of that. A generalized message.
Yeah, go minimal. I will say my brother had exactly the same thing I had done, and he had it minimally done, and he had no problems. So it can be done. Just be really careful on who you're having do it and make sure that you're all on the same page.
Right. And again, make sure that nothing changes last minute. Make sure that, that everything is on the up and up and the procedure is discussed thoroughly. I think that's the other big thing, too, that you always want to make sure is get all the facts, figures, and maybe not go with the first doctor you see. You go get a multitude of opinions and see if you can get some agreement without them knowing about you seeing other doctors. I think that's also another wise idea. But enough about that. One of the things I want to mention too is we do have a pending sale that we have a listing that, and again, it was a kind of a affordable condo that was listed, but it's pending now and it should close on or before April the 25th. It should. Now, I always like to educate people in the real estate industry too, especially new ones to the business. Older agents or people who've been in the business a long time know. Don't ever get excited until it actually closes. Once it closes, then you can get excited. Before that, it's just a maybe, and it's always a maybe. And, I had a neighbor across the street, oh, it's on the market for 4 days, and I got to, it's a done deal, and so he went off and bought property up in, of all places, North Dakota. I have no idea why, but that's where he wanted to be.
He wanted to be where it's going to be frozen 90% of the year.
He wanted to be on the frozen tundra. But anyways, yeah, I'm sure they've got great stuff in North Dakota, so I'm not denigrating it. I'm sure it's on many people. Okay, it's not on anyone's bucket list. But the point of it is, it could be on your bucket list because once you find out, I think the medicine wheel is there. That's a famous little artifact thing, I think, that's up there. And I forget what.
I know Montana's pretty. Some of those
Mount
areas
Rushmore
are beautiful. Just you better like cold during the winter time.
Right. Just bring your snowblower. Okay. So, or get one. But anyways, he was so excited about it, got an offer in 4 days. And then 4 days later, he was less excited about it when they said that something about that inspection was an issue, that there was some inspection issues. And I said, I'm always like, well, yeah, of course. I said, the quarterback's throwing the ball, getting ready to get it, and then at the last second, the inspection comes in and swats away the ball.
Well, you got to know what's going on. We always recommend people that you do get a home inspected because there are almost always something that you haven't seen that you may not see, that you're not trained to see. People say, well, how do you see things on my tree that they don't? Well, because I know what to look for on your tree and you don't.
Right.
And the same thing true in your home. When you go to sell it, you are used to everything and you aren't looking for the problems.
Exactly. And again, unless you're a contractor or you're a home inspector yourself, or you're just really familiar, maybe you're a do-it-yourselfer type and you've seen a lot of different things. And again, let's not discount life experience because I do think life experience counts. May not count when you're being deposed, but it does count in the real world. So, just be careful what you see out there before you pluck down your hard-earned money. And
if you're thinking about trees, shrubs, and the like, if you're thinking about a new home, you like James, you like me, give us a call. And stay with us as the Plant and Real Estate Talk continues.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Open air conditioner? Keep your home's AC running smoothly all year long with Easy Breezy AC. With thousands of active commercial and residential customers, Easy Breezy AC is Tampa Bay's most trusted HVAC company. Easy Breezy AC cares about those in need. Donate 2 cans of food and receive $20 off a $79 service call. Go to EasyBreezyAC.com and use promo code GreenThumb for an additional $10 off your service call. Call 727-856-HVAC. Life's hard. Comfort's not. Did you know that Stan DeFrida's Mr. Green Thumb can come to your house and examine your plants, trees, and palms? His knowledge can help you become the envy of your neighborhood with lush, green, healthy trees that don't just live, but thrive. Palms and oak trees are part of what makes Florida a beautiful place to live, but they get diseases and are often cut down. We offer ways to save your trees. Call or text Stan today at 727-423-4794 or go online to AskMrGreenthumb.com. That's AskMR Greenthumb.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Green Thumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we're glad that you're with us each and every week. We appreciate it. You tell your neighbors, your friends, hey, listen to these guys. They do kind of a gardening/real estate show. A little bit of real estate, a little bit of plant stuff. Now is the time you can still plant a lot of things. I enjoy my hibiscus. I am growing some basil. I'm growing some rosemary. I like both of those spices. I think they're both healthy for you.
My dog likes them too.
And they should. They're good for them.
She likes to roll around in
them. Yeah, well, your dog likes to roll into a lot of things. But
I'm not going to lie about that. There's, and again, anybody out there who's ever had the pleasure of owning a Beagle Hound breed, and I'm sure the Hounds do it too, and I'm sure True Beagles do it as well, but we tend to wind up, and again, I'll give them a little shine as well. If you're interested in a pet, Tampa Bay Beagle Rescue is a great place to go. They have a great Facebook site for that. We've rescued 2 dogs from Tampa Bay Beagle Rescue, and both dogs have been wonderful dogs. But something interesting about the Beagle Hound nose is that they do some things that other dogs don't do.
It smells far different to them.
I guess. If there's something that would be on the naughty list, they tend to want to roll around in something that's doesn't smell very nice to us, and then it's an instant bath day for the dog afterwards, if you catch my drift, and I think you do. But that's an excellent place to go, and I can't tell you enough. I mean, you can go buy that $1,200 dog from a breeder if that's really what you want to do. And I'm not denigrating people if that's what you really like. My personal opinion on it is we have enough dogs and cats out there for the world over. So my thoughts is you might be better off just, going and picking up a dog that was maybe a take back. And if you don't know what that means that somebody was either got the dog and it wasn't the right fit for the family, and then they took it back. So therefore, the take back comment. But my thoughts here is that there's plenty of dogs out there that need homes. You don't really need to be breeding dogs, but that's my own opinion. You are more than welcome to disagree with it. Another thought I have too that I'd like to mention as well is there's a title that came from the real estate magazine that's put out, and it says Competition and Opportunity in Real Estate. That was kind of the title of it. And, PinellesRealtor.org, I guess, is the one that's responsible the most for it. But one of the questions that was asked that I thought was kind of interesting is it says, why can't commissions be included as part of a mortgage?
It's not allowed, I don't think.
And it gives a pretty succinct answer, and it says real estate commissions are not directly linked to the mortgage loan production and therefore cannot be financed. By definition, a mortgage is a lien against the property, which means the property itself serves as the asset that the lender can take back to recoup value if the borrower defaults. Commissions, on the other hand, are based on the services being provided, and there's no way for the lender to recover the value of services in the event of a default on the mortgage. So, if you want to know more about that, of course, you can go to realestatecommissionfacts.com. Yeah. So, it just gives you an idea that service is part of things. The service side of things can't really be included in the mortgage. So, that's something people might want to be aware of, which is one of the reasons that you need to save for something called closing costs.
Closing costs and your down payment. And there will be some cost in there. And I don't think people always think about that.
Right.
But, there will be things you need to also think about. Your insurance and your taxes.
Right.
A lot of cities and counties kind of held their taxes when we were in the Great Recession. Mm-hmm. Now, with a lot of new works and projects going on, and especially after COVID, and you can either say, yes, you think that was false, or you think it was government manipulation for COVID. Other people will say, no, it was definitely necessary. And I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But certainly it kicked a lot of people's economy down the road. Now a lot of people are back into selling things, but a lot of people have got into it and said, we didn't realize our property taxes could go up. our HOAs could go up or will go up because
Sure.
insurance costs, because of this. There's a trickle down, there used to be a trickle down theory that Ronald Reagan had on money getting to people.
Trickle down economics.
There's also a trickle down expense, I'd call
of
it,
course.
that can come that people don't really see. You don't see it. Now, you see it in the store, you see it in the gas line.
That's right.
But you don't really think about it when it pertains to your property. And some people now are taking hits on their property, like some people in California, where they bought the property for let's say $1.6 million,
Right.
which means you've got a regular standard house,
Right.
and now they're having to sell it for $1.3 million because they didn't realize. And one of the reasons that people have been running from California to Florida and Texas and some other states is this
Taxes.
like we're just going to keep increasing taxes on a regular basis. And it's great to have social programs, but there's always that line of who's paying for it.
Oh, absolutely. And even if it touches you and let's say just in a community level, and it will. If you buy a condo or a homeowners association, what you pay this year might vastly be different than what you pay next year, And so, and again, it has everything to do with that trickle down of expenses that you just were communicating. And again, you cannot base a real estate purchase on, I can afford it this year. You need to be thinking about it long term. What can I afford over the long haul? Maybe you're smart and you got a 10-year mortgage, or a 15-year mortgage, and that's good, because then you're not paying this enormous amount of interest. If people looked at the bell curve of the interest, you're paying very little towards the principal when you take out the mortgage during the early years. And it's not until towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, believe me, the Bank of Medici in Florence didn't get wealthy because they didn't understand interest. They did and that's why they were able to take over most of Europe, because they understood the principle of compound interest.
Sure.
So,
And that's something a lot of people don't. A lot of people have gone to those short-term loans too, like a 5-year loan, a 2-year loan.
you're talking about adjustable rate
mortgages.
Yeah.
And it was great when it was going down or was almost zero. And they
Well,
said,
now they're becoming more popular again.
well, now, but you also have to watch about if they go back for the money and you have to
Well,
refinance.
They're worried. Again, people are using the arms now because they're betting that things will be better later. And that's not a guarantee, as you're pointing out. It's not a guarantee. It's good for now. And then some people will do an adjustable rate mortgage because they know they're only going to be in this state for 5 years, or they're only going to be here for a few years.
Right.
And then they'll do that because that makes more sense, because then at that point what they're doing is saying, I don't want to pay rent, and I don't care how much I really pay off or gain equity. Okay? So think about that for a second.
Suckers.
Well, no, I mean, if you don't pay the rent, you're doing better than paying rent.
Yes. No, I think and more than likely your house will appreciate.
Right. Yeah. And again, I can't say this enough. And I hate to sound like I'm trying to encourage people to have less pride in themselves, because that's not what I'm about. But I would say, if you are in a situation where you're a younger person, you'd like to buy something, but you're having trouble with that saving part, okay, stay with mom and dad for a year if they'll let you, and save that money. Don't go out and buy, the most expensive iPhone, and try to get that out of your headspace, the trinkets, okay? Those add up to almost nothing, okay? Once you hold them long enough, they're worth nothing. And so what I'm going to advise you to do is stay home with mom and dad. That doesn't mean you don't have to contribute. You stay home with mom and dad, you contribute something towards the common cause, because they're giving you a great benefit by letting you do that. But don't go out there and be so eager to give your money to a landlord every month because you want that independence you think you deserve. You deserve nothing. You earn it.
I like it.
Yeah. So
the good work ethic.
That's right. So you got to keep that in mind. Another question I get all the time, and from very smart people in the real estate world, and it's something that's being asked on this piece of paper here. It says, why should real estate professionals, why should they make the money and the commissions that they do? I mean, everything's available online. Why am I paying this real estate agent a commission? It seems so silly to me.
Because there's things you don't know and you don't see and you can't foresee and you haven't been through it. And if you don't do it right, you could have a serious problem.
Right. And I'll give an example that I gave to my tennis friend, Jillian. she sold some real estate this past year, and I told her, I said, well, look, let's look at your situation. You're selling a property, and it's already sold, so I can talk about it. You're selling a property in a very desirable location. It was practically a brand new unit. She'd only been in it for 3 years. And before that, she bought it new. Okay. And I said, so you're in a desirable location. You've got the right zip code. Everyone wanted to move into that city, and you're right off of Main Street. Okay. So there's all of these benefits.
Right.
And then I told her, I said, and one other thing that's critical, you have the time. Okay, you have the time, and one of the things that she did mention that I got to make the house presentable. I got to let people in. I got to do this, got to do that. But she was only working like 1 or 2 days a week. And she is for the man. I mean, she's working full time as a mother, so that's full time work.
Sure.
But our kids, she got a little break because they're now at the stage where they're going to school and preschool and that kind of thing. So you get a little bit of a break, a reprieve, I will say. But I would say, and all of that's great unless the deal becomes really complicated real fast, and they can real fast, okay? And then what happens when there's a problem? You don't have that neutral third person giving you the best advice. The little angel on your shoulder, when you got the little devil that pops up on the left side and the little angel on the right side, the little devil's always telling you to be a little devil and be out looking out for yourself. Well, a good real estate agent is going to always try to make sure that they're going to look at the situation and they're going to try to create what I call the middle way, like Buddha. They're going to try to find the middle path. You may not be 100% happy about it. The buyer may not be 100% happy about it, but it's a fair deal. Okay. And that's what you're always wanting. And, and your agent has to be able to separate the rosy, colorful language that they use to get the listing and have that communication with you. That's an honest conversation. When it's appropriate.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm not against people doing FSBOs, okay? But I would say in the wrong market, it's a bad idea, okay? And we're headed towards a more competitive marketplace. And that's going to be more challenging for them because then all of a sudden, all of the skills that real estate agents haven't had to use, they'll need to re-implement. And those agents that are brand new to the game and think that this is normal, that you get 27 offers in the first 4 hours, they're now going to realize that was just the sign of the times, not that they were so great an agent.
Well, that's one nice thing is James and I together have about 30 years worth of experience in real estate. I mean, a lot of other people do. Some of them people have even a lot more. But if you've not seen some of the bad times, as you just pointed out, it's not always just a sure thing. And that's where a lot of agents will be leaving the business. If you have not been in the business before and you haven't done sales,
right, you're going to be in trouble.
You may find that you have to go back. And I've talked to a lot of young people who said, "Well, I'm back doing this now,
right,
because there wasn't enough sales."
Right. There, in the words of Trump, that you now run on a pizza parlor.
I understand. Well, you stay with us. I guess we want to tell you each and every week we appreciate you being with James and I. And, of course, we are here. And don't go off because the plant talk and real estate talk continues.
Want to talk real estate? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786, on the web at StaffordTreeSVC.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we want to talk to you a little bit about plants at this point. A lot of people, have plants that you're growing. And I suggest every year or two, I try to grow something different, from potatoes to tomatoes to lettuce to radishes. You name the veggie, I probably have grown it in my career. And I enjoy growing some of the stuff. And I'm going to say, one of the things you can do for every dollar you put into your garden, you'll probably get about a $10 to $15 to $20 return on what you put in. And I know, like, I bought some lettuce. I bought a little 4-pack for a couple bucks. And each one is like $3 per if you go buy it at the store. And it also, I find if it's there, I use it. I think about going to the cabinet and eating some crackers or something, some carbohydrates that I know that are in a box that aren't really good for you. If you have that head of lettuce and I go break off some leaves and I eat that as a snack, sometimes I drizzle a little bit of olive oil on it to give it some more flavor. And if you want, put a little olive oil on there. You can put it in the oven even. If you've never had like wilt or kilt salad, it's something different.
It seemed like we had a guest on once that was not in favor of olive oil.
Well, yes. But
Can't remember who that was.
I think it was Alan.
Alan.
But and he read a book. And that's funny. And you have another person that I've read, and they go, "Oh, everything should have olive oil on it." So you get two
there
different.
seems to be a wide range of opinions.
I think
there.
of fats and oils. Olive oil is probably one of your better ones if you're gonna have oils.
I'll tell you one of the reasons why I don't use a lot of olive oil, and it's not that I have anything against olive oil. It's just it has a very low burn temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not saying that there aren't some olive oils that could do better at higher temperatures, but the reason that I strictly use avocado oil in cooking is I think it actually may be even healthier for you than olive oil. And it has a burn off rate of being able to withstand 450 degrees temperature. So you literally can cook in it and it doesn't burn away, whereas olive oil will smoke and will start to burn. Okay.
Sure.
And then that can change the flavor of your food. And it can also change the slickness because then all of a sudden, if that oil is burning off, then you're not actually providing the lubricant that you need on your food in order for it not to burn.
Now, I have used olive oil and just kept the heat down to where
You
it's
could do that.
not so hot.
Right.
And there's also some debate about making things too hot, too much burning on the fruit or let's say the food. You get some like glycation, and some of that probably isn't good for us and I know we all like it. We love hamburgers. We love stuff on the grill where it's got that little blackened bit, a little bit of carbon, and a little bit of it's probably fine. But getting it on a constant basis, there is some debate by some authorities that maybe that's not the best thing in the world for you.
Right.
Fresh is best if you're getting lettuce and stuff. I would say I've used avocado oil before too as a salad dressing. There again, I know there's some people saying no oils at all. I tend to think in moderation. The Greeks had the great idea of moderation in all things. And if you are doing a little bit of oil on occasion, I think it's okay. But I have read some of the books. People say, "Oh, don't do any oils." I can tell you that in small amounts, these natural healthy oils. Now,
Which is a fat, by the way.
if it's a vegetable oil, I don't think it's a good for you. But it will take your vegetable oil. You can cook in a lot higher temperatures. But I personally think that is better with either your mentioned avocado or olive oil, and on salads and things.
Well, they make the avocado in a really nice spray that you can buy, and it's expensive, so fair warning. But again, the other thing I would say is everyone tells me, well, it's too expensive to eat healthy. And I'm going, well, it's really expensive when you go to the hospital too, even if you just have to pay a $500 copay. That ain't cheap either. So I would suggest to people out there to make an investment in yourself, and yes, you're worth it. Maybe don't hit the fast food so often and make an investment in healthier food choices. I do think that we largely, this is not a denigration of America at large, but I do think that America as a whole has an unhealthy eating pattern. We have a lot of holidays, and a lot of these holidays, there's lots of drinking going on, lots of high carbohydrates, high fat foods being served at said parties around these holidays. I know people out there go, geez, this guy's really nailing us on our holidays, but
And alcohol's a poison.
well, it is. And so, people will make the comment, and of course, Dr. Bill Handelman's coming up next, so you can, call and talk to him. I don't know if he takes calls or not, but you certainly, the food for thought there is people are, why don't we have a vaccine for cancer? Well, the very things that we like to eat might be part of the problem, to excess sugars. There was a little bit of a scare last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, depending on when you listen to this, about erythritol.
Right.
Being combined with stevia, and then there being higher incidences of stroke and potential cardiac incidences happening.
Of course, I read about that. You need like 25 grams a day to make a real difference.
Yeah, so that's so again, dose makes the poison. So back to your original thought with the Greeks and moderation. There's a lot we can learn from older customs, so we think we know everything, but the reality of it is I'll listen to some of these people that do podcasts too as well, because by the way, this show is also downloadable from your favorite podcast. You don't have to listen to it on Sunday mornings from 8 to 9, although we encourage you to do it. And then every third Sunday, of course, you are here live, and people can take advantage of that and call in at the show. And of course, the call-in number here, if you're locally, is 813-289-1860. See how we did that? The call letter is 860, AM 860, and the telephone number is 813-289-1860. So you can't forget, because it's part of the number.
Or 1-877-969-8600 if you're outside the area.
And we know that could be.
And we have. I know in the past, I've had calls sometimes from people in California, well, even Hawaii. I've had calls. So I've had people call me from all over the world, actually.
Right.
But we're there to help people. I find that borers are everywhere. I find
Don't be a borer.
Black spot on roses is everywhere. Some of the diseases that we get on some of our plants, especially small plants, you have to watch out. They're more prone to have problems. But like I just noticed, I put in some marigolds. Nothing seems to go after the marigold. It seems to be pretty much trouble-free. Now, spider mites, occasionally you can get on marigolds, and you say, well, I thought marigold's the plant I could plant out there to stop problems naturally. So almost everything seems to have something that's adapted to the problem. And it's like a puffer fish puffs up, and nothing usually attacks it. Big shark comes in and goes, puffer fish, I can digest you.
Yum.
So I think it's amazing. For almost everything, nature has devised something different.
Yeah. And, an interesting thing, and I'll give it a little bit of shine towards a show that I'm watching. If you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend people watch it, because it's a very good show with a lot of interesting values. But the show's called 1883. It's set in the year 1883, and it's a very interesting show starring Sam Elliott. And can't imagine him playing a cowboy. That seems weird, like hello.
Hey, the dude.
Actually, I can't imagine him not playing a cowboy. But and this doesn't give away anything, but it just is food for thought. One of the episodes, one of the horses gets bit by a diamondback rattlesnake, and it throws the rider. What's interesting to me is, so again, I don't know if other people get this thought, but if I see a question like that, I always think to myself, well, geez, a horse is awfully big. Maybe a snake bite.
Would it kill the horse or not?
Yeah. So what's interesting there is I looked it up, and as I often do, since I'm curious about these sort of things, and what's interesting is horses do not mouth breathe. They cannot do that. Okay, that's not how they're designed. They have these huge nostrils, and that's how they breathe. So if a horse gets bit on its nose, then what everyone was saying you do is you take some hoses and you jab it up inside the horse's nostrils, because within 15 minutes the horse is going to asphyxiate and die because of the swelling. The other issue is let's say it gets bit on a large muscle group. If it gets bit on a large muscle group, then what they're really more interested in doing, rather than antivenom and all of that, they're more interested in something called infection.
Sure.
And so you'll find that veterinarians will be more interested in making sure that there's anti-inflammatories being administered to the horse and antibiotics. They're more interested in making sure they keep that, and then letting the poison,
the toxin,
reduce on its own over time, which is very different than how we might handle it as a person. And again, we're not anywhere near in the same weight capacity as a horse. But I thought it was an interesting thing, because we don't really think about that in terms of And again, I think the TV series there are some things that I think they get right and some things that they get wrong. If I was of German heritage, I might be a little irritated on how the show portrays that, how dumb they seem to be. But I don't think that's exactly how they were either. But I do think that if it's the first time you've ever been in the country and you're trying to make the trip on the Oregon Trail, you might run into lots and lots of problems that you would not be familiar with, especially during that time. So yeah, if you haven't seen 1883 is the show, and I highly recommend it.
I'll mark that down. Well, I think that's important. We are here. If you've got a real estate question, how do we get a hold of James?
Sure. If you want to get a hold of me and you have a question, it's 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And I would be happy to help you list or purchase a home. And we will definitely, be good friends during that relationship and afterwards.
And if you want to get a hold of me for your trees, give me a call, 727-423-4794. Enjoy your life, enjoy your garden, and as Teddy used to say, live it up.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online, aflre.com.